Hello everyone, thank you for being there today. So I'm Aurelie Baker from Aerospace Valley. Aerospace Valley is a member of the consortium of Astropreneur, and Astropreneur is a European project. And today we are starting a serial of different webinar about funding opportunities, and we will have two presentations. The first one will be delivered by Carla from IPN about the Astropreneur Program, and after that Fabienne next to me will give you more information about the program, the instrument PME, sorry, SME. Oh, okay. And after that, we will have a short session about questions. So enjoy this webinar, and please use the chat to if you have any questions. So now, Carla, I will. You can you can start. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Carla Duarte from IPN, and I'm going to present you the possibilities of getting funding support within Astropreneurs. I'm just trying that. Okay. And just before presenting these sources of funding that we are supporting startups searching, I will give you a brief overview about Astropreneurs project. So Astropreneurs is as Aurelie has just said, is a H2020 project. It runs during 30 months, and we are in the middle. And we aim at turning space-related ideas into viable businesses, promoting opportunities for entrepreneurs coming from space and non-space sectors. Our partnership integrates 8 organizations from all over Europe. So as I said, Instituto Pedro Nunes is the coordinator here from Portugal. Then we have Aerospace Valley in France, Brimatech from Austria, CESA from Germany, Czech Invest in the Czech Republic, KIM in Spain, STFC in the UK, and VEHART in Belgium. These members, these consortium members, are all members also from the ESABIX and ESA Brokers network. So we have beside us a good networking. Okay, just one behind. So what do we do? We pick up and start with entrepreneurs and the startups and the SMEs that have a business idea integrating a space connection, and through our mentoring program, we train and mentor them on business, technical, and funding. And also we give them access to an extensive networking, and hopefully when they go through this process, they will become viable business cases, and will accelerate into the commercial phases easier. Our main actions are, of course, the training and mentoring of 150 startups within the mentoring program, with 50 hours average per each one on business, technical, and funding. And then, of course, the Space Economy Astropreneurs Network, where we hopefully involve up to 500 entrepreneurs with the relevant industry stakeholders, investors, space institutions and clusters, and other business and non-space skilled business centers and incubators. The mentoring program, how does it work? When a startup is selected, they will have access to 3 months of mentoring with 50 hours per startup. Mentors are coming from all over Europe, and in the overall, we will reach the 150 startups. What to do to become an Astropreneur, to join this Space Startup Accelerator? where the startups just have to apply on our website. We still have 3 cutoff dates coming. The next one will be in September, then October, and still in the early of February of 2020, we have the last cutoff dates. You go through our website and you just click the button to apply, and will be an application form to fulfill. The application form is actually based on F6X, a platform that is very friendly to use, and applicants can be startups, and this means they can be either entrepreneurs in idea phase or registered SMEs. They have to be located in an EU member state or in a H2020 eligible country, and of course their business idea has to be space related. So it has to have a space connection, it has to use a space technology, space data, aiming both downstream applications or upstream applications. In our website, also in the call for startups, you have a notes and guidance document for applicants where everything is very well explained and detailed, with all the information regarding the eligibility and selection criteria. And how are we doing after the 3 first cutoff dates? Well, we have already 80 mentors on board from all over Europe on business, technical, and funding, with business, technical, and funding expertise. And we are halfway with the expected number of entrepreneurs. We have already on board 75 startups that are participating on the mentoring program. Where do these startups come from? They are the ones that we have on board with us. Lots of them come from academia, so they are very early stage. Others are in a more pre-ESABIC phase, so they are planning to incubate in the ESABIC network. Some others are already incubated. We have also some winners from national and EU contests, such as the Copernicus Master. We have actually 2 winners. We have some ESABIC alumni and other startups and companies coming from the industry, that is already consolidated SMEs. So this is a brief overview about Astropreneurs and how to apply, who are our startups. And well, more dedicated or related with our webinar, with the funding webinar, this funding webinar, in Astropreneurs, we are really exploring the sources of funding for startups. We have mapped in an initial phase, and this is only the initial phase, 143 funding instruments coming from 11 European countries, and we are going to enlarge this mapping. Half of these funding instruments are public, and the other half roughly are private funding instruments. More than 30 are dedicated for the SMEs, for the SMEs, and are accessible for them across Europe and even internationally. The majority are funding for national SMEs, and in our Astropreneurs website you can see who are the institutions that are giving this funding and get access to that information. So if you go to our website and scroll down, you will find our map, and in the map you can see lots of the pinpoints that inform about, with the colors, about the kind of organizations that we are mapping. And one of that colors, for instance, it's about business angels and venture capital institutions or companies. And then if you click on the map, you will get information, specific information about the the venture capital or the business angel. For instance, this is the information we get: the name, the address, the where it is located, if it is, what is the scope, territorial scope, and the website. So you can get lots of information about funding instruments. We are now in a phase in that we are updating this mapping, and in July or in the second half of this year, we'll get an updated version of this map, covering more funding instruments and especially more European countries. I would like now to give you some examples of the mentoring actions that we are implementing with our with the startups that are participating in the program. For instance, some startups are trying to get private funding, namely having some sort of investment by business angels. We have one of our startups is an alumni from ESABIC, and they need to get invested to leverage their businesses. They use Earth observation from the Copernicus atmosphere monitoring service and other technologies to process this data and make them actionable for the end users. But the startup needs to prepare this new pitch for investors and improve their slide deck. So we got them a mentor. Actually, the mentor has a background and works on a VC, and the mentor is not only supporting them with the slide deck, but also to think over their business strategy, because it's not only to make a good pitch or improve the slide deck, but also think about the business strategy, and of course in relation to that, to improve the presentation that the startup will do for investors. And this way they are much more prepared to face and to talk with the investors that they will present their business idea and hopefully get invested. Another example can be on getting public funding. We have another Astropreneur startup. It is a very young company. Actually, it was created by a former employee of a space agency in Europe. And their space connection is based on a technology transfer. The company is developing a very powerful tool to measure precisely different air pollution particles. Their mentoring is focused on supporting them to apply and access an ESABIC, and also get their first public funding support, and they are at the same time getting support to apply for the ESABIC in their country, and also get some national funding. The mentors are doing this work with them. So we don't do the applications, but we give guidance, we review, and we iterate the process until it is in a way that it can be presented and get funding and positive results in the end. Another example is also a young company, but this time she's focused on new space business and is looking for funding to support their proof of concept. So they aiming to provide new space companies modular software to control their small set missions, and also is the Earth observation data processing. The mentoring that they are getting is focused on supporting them to validate the downstream business model, also to coordinate with the ESA national delegation. So networking also is very important along with the funding, and getting their funding from ESA business applications. Actually, they are applying for an ESA business application demonstrator project, and the mentorship is giving them the necessary guidance on the process and also review of the contents that they have to provide in their application and all the documentation. As an overall message, what mentors and what we are doing, we are spotting the funding opportunities. So mentors actively spot the most adequate national and funding and European funding opportunities, funding instruments, but also the contests and other suitable acceleration programs. Of course, we have to talk about that some Astropreneur startups are intending to apply to SME Instrument, especially the phase 1. So they will get the mentors guidance and support to present their projects. Some are being mentored to apply to the Galileo Masters and other to the Copernicus Masters. And this is also an excellent way also to get funding and also visibility from the work that we are doing with them. Just some results on the mentoring that we have been done. So for the first batch of selected startups, regarding the ones that applied and are already on the project with receiving the mentoring, the first batch of 25, not all requested funding, but we already requested more than 1 million euros of funding. So this is a good number. It's not a bigger number because, as I told you, our companies, most of them are early stage and pre-SRX, so they don't need a large amount of money. They need some money to start, and but overall, this is a very interesting number, and results are showing. And also, as well as this webinar that is dedicated to funding, we have also a training plan with other themes regarding funding. So we are going to release, not only do webinars, but start to release some podcasts and also organize in some countries workshops that are in presence. But for the webinars and podcasts, I can tell you that we are going to have a podcast about Eureka Aerostars. This one is already happening about the SME instruments possibilities. We are going to have one in June regarding the EBAN space activities. Well, CESA will organize also one giving feedback on ESA Investment Forum, and VEHART in October will support the Copernicus Opportunities of Funding webinar. Again, EBAN will give a webinar on how to be well prepared to talk with an investor. So as you can see, we have a wide variety and topics of interest regarding funding, and you can reach all these webinars through our website. You go to the training area and you can easily register, and if you can attend the webinar, if you register, you can after get the information, get the presentations, and listen to the webinars. And okay, so we have our social media. If you want, you can follow us and be aware of what we are doing. Can go to the website and also get in touch with us by email. And I think for Astropreneurs and how we are exploring the sources of funding for startups is everything. I'll be available for any question that you have later. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Carla, for your presentation. And now it's the turn of Fabienne. So please, Fabienne.
Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Fabienne Daveran. I'm working in the Aerospace Valley cluster in Toulouse and southern France, dealing with aeronautics and space. I'm in charge of European affairs in the cluster, and I'm also part of the French transport NCP. So NCP stands for National Contact Point. I will explain a bit later what we are supposed to do. So my presentation today will be about SME instrument at European level, Okay, so my presentation will deal especially on the EIC Accelerator pilot, and also I will introduce you to several other sources of funding in H2020, especially collaborative projects. So first of all, I want to recall maybe some words about the SME definition for the European Commission. I suppose you know, but maybe it's better to recall that special fundings are agreed for SMEs. So for the European Commission, an SME must stand on 3 criteria. One criteria is about the size of the company and the number of employees. They must be less than 250 people. And then second criteria is about budget funding, sorry, not funding, finance. So in terms either annual turnover less than 50 million euros or annual balance sheet total less than 43 million euros. And the third criterion is about autonomous enterprises. I mean, to be an SME, you have to be, you have not to be owned by after more than 25% by a non-SME. So there is also these 2 free criteria for defining the SME at the European level. This definition will be changed in a few months, but for the moment it's not agreed. So here you have a view of Horizon 2020 Framework Program for Research and Innovation. So this program is very big. As you can see, it's about 77 billion euros. It has started in 2013, and it will last next year in 2020. So it stands on 3 main pillars. One pillar is dealing with excellent science. There you can see here all the type of fundings, but it's more for basic research. A second pillar is for industrial leadership. So you can find space in there with also other programs like ICT, nanotechnology, biotechnologies, and so on. And then the third pillar is dealing with societal challenges, and you have other programs there like health, agriculture, energy, transport, climate, and many others. Now we have something new in H2020 that's called the EIC, European Innovation Council. So what is that? It is a new program concerning startups and SMEs especially, which are very highly technological, which have a disruptive innovation, and which target international trade markets. And what is the aim of EIC? In fact, the European Commission wants to help funding companies scale up process, to really change and scale up, to grow, to become more than a startup and a big SME. So in H2020, EIC will be hosted like a pilot for these 2 years, this year and next year. Then in the next framework program that will be called Horizon Europe, then it will become a real pillar of this new framework program for the next 7 years, starting from 2021 up to 2027. So this is EIC Pilot, as I said just now, will be hosted by Horizon 2020 for this year and next year. In fact, the European Commission used this way of pilot to test this new program, this new instrument, in order to prepare their full implementation in the next framework program. By the way, it's an arrangement of existing funding instruments, so SME instruments, for example, or FETs, Future Emerging Technologies. They will be rearranged in this EIC pilot. The EIC pilot will be composed by 2 main instruments. The EIC Pilot Pathfinder for low TRL projects, very basic research. And then the EIC Accelerator for more mature project and higher TRL. So just to let you know, the TRL scale is a technological readiness level. This is a scale that has been set up, created by the NASA in the US to measure the readiness of research projects. In fact, it goes from 0, 1 to 9. 9 is when the technology is mature enough to address the market. It's a commercial stage. 1 is very starting early age research. And you can just recall that TRL 3, for example, it's level of a proof of concept. TRL 6 is more a prototype, just to give you some major ideas on this scale. The governance of the EIC will be done by a special EIC advisor board, and the budget of this EIC pilot for this year and next year will be over 2 billion euros. So here you have a split of a different program with a different budget associated. So I will focus my presentation on the EIC Accelerator, but you can see on this slide that there are other different instruments in this program. So the EIC Accelerator pilot is aimed to support very high risk and high potential SMEs from all sectors. So space is one sector that can be covered by the EIC Accelerator pilot. It is aiming at these SMEs that will be supported through this program are aiming at shaping really new markets or disrupting existing ones in Europe and worldwide, even outside of Europe. It is a program open to all SMEs in all EU member states, but also to associated countries, because you have to know that some countries that are not European are allowed to receive funding like European ones. I'm thinking about Israel, Turkey, Norway, Switzerland, but a lot of many other countries. You can have a list. There is a link in this slide towards these associated countries. This pilot is open to new products, but it's not only for products. It can be also processes and services. There isn't any topics set. In fact, you can propose your subject as you want. It is a really fully bottom-up approach, and the budget is about 1.3 billion for these 2 years. So we can still find SME instrument in this EIC Accelerator pilot, but not for a long time, only for this year. After, we will see there will be some changes introduced in the model. So SME instrument phase 1, the latest cutoff date will be September 5th this year. I recall that it's an instrument to fund feasibility studies, and the final output of this project will be an international business plan. Duration is 6 months, and funding grant is 50 kilo euros, and it's a 70% funded project. Then you have also SME instrument phase 2, which will be still this year, but the latest cutoff date is closed. It's June 5th. It aims at funding all activities to go from a TRL 6 up to a TRL 9. I haven't written that in my slide, but SME instruments is only for technologies up to TRL 6. So the activities funded by the phase 2 can be prototyping, test, certification, for example. Duration is about 1 to 2 years. Funding grant is starting from 0.5 up to 2.5 million euros. Funding rate is still 70%, and it can be for single applicants or consortia of applicants, but only SMEs answering the definition of the European Commission will be funded under this instrument. The changes after these 2 dates will start to be implemented in September this year. There will be new rules and conditions under this EIC Pilot Accelerator. Unfortunately, the SME instrument phase 1 will no longer exist in the program. So date of September is the latest one. And SME instrument phase 2 will become the EIC Pilot Accelerator with several changes compared with the previous version of the SME instrument. So first of all, it will be only for single applicants only, no longer funding of collaborative projects under this instrument. It will be still bottom up, all activities the same thing than before. That means to go from TRL 6 to TRL 9, prototyping, test, certification, and so on. The first cutoff date of this model will be in October 10 this year, and then we will have 4 cutoff dates in 2020 in January, March, May, and October. But the main change you have to understand is about the funding model. So now you will have to choose on 2 types of funding under this instrument: grant only, like before, or what they call blended finance, which is grant plus equity from private investors. Equity can go up to 15 million euros. For the grant dimension, it's still the same, from 0.5 to 2.5 million euros. And you will have a possibility to introduce private investors in your project if you want. But also for very high risk project, the EC will create special purpose vehicles to act as a private investor for this project. And for activities of projects which are up to TRL 8, then this will be equity mandatorily. You won't have a choice. In fact, the EC will choose for you for activities up to TRL 8. Here you have a slide to recall how it goes on the evaluation process. So for phase 1, and I recall this year is only one cutoff date. So you have a proposal submission, then remote evaluation. I recall that evaluation of this project are done by independent experts. Then you have a ranking of a proposal, and there you have a result. In fact, if you are above the threshold, then you will be invited to a GAP, that means grant agreement preparation. Otherwise, you will be rejected. In any case, you will receive your evaluation summary report 8 weeks after your submission, which is a very rapid process of evaluation. For phase 2, it's different. You have one step more. In fact, you start submitting your proposal, still remote evaluation by independent experts, ranking of proposal, and their first step of evaluation. If you are above a threshold, then you will be called for an interview, a pitch in Brussels, and otherwise you'll be rejected. Then you have the interview, and after the interview, you will know if you are retained for funding or not. So about the schedule, you have 4 to 5 weeks after the cutoff date to receive invitations for interview or knowing if you are rejected. And for those who are retained for interviews, then you have 9 weeks after the cutoff date, you will have a final decision. Either you are invited to grant agreement preparation or you're rejected. And in this case as well, you have a very detailed evaluation summary report for interviews. About the criteria for evaluation. So you have three criteria of evaluation. It's always the same thing for, I would say, all European projects. One criterion is dealing with excellence. That means the potential to create new market or to impact existing one, to know if you are on the right timing to change this. In fact, under this excellence criterion, you will be evaluated on the progress beyond the state of the art, okay, on your technology or your innovation. Then second criteria is about quality and efficiency of implementation. So that means your capability and motivation to bring the innovation to the market. There, the experts will look at the work plan, the deliverables, also if you are in a consortium, your capacity to manage the consortium, and so on. And you're also the funding, the budget plan. And the third one is impact criterion. And this one is very, very important. And especially for this type of project. It's the most important one. In fact, in the impact, the EC will look, the experts, sorry, will look at a solid business model and commercialization strategy, and also sound financial planning. So there will be 4 evaluators per proposal. I recall that experts from the for this type of project come from the EC, and they can come from several entities. They can be from academia, they can be from business. More and more experts are coming from business entities, but anyone can ask to be an expert to evaluation at the European Commission. Of course, there is a process for proving your knowledge and your expertise on certain fields, but it's really open to everybody, and really encourage you to go for this candidacies, because it's a good way to see how it goes in this process, and what is the level of excellence needed for these projects. Then these 4 experts will do their own scoring of a proposal, with scoring going from 0 to 5 per criteria, knowing that there is a threshold per criteria which is 4. That means that you can see there that they really want very excellent proposal. This is quite difficult. I mean, you need to prove your excellence in your proposal there. The global threshold is 13 out of 15. Then there is a weighting for the overall consensus score and ranking, and there the impact criterion is taken into account. It has a weight of 50%. Excellence and implementation have less weight, 25%. That means that the EC wants to fund projects that will meet a market, and that will change, in terms of business and commercial potentialities. Then, if you have a chance to be successful and to have your project retained for funding, you will benefit from additional support from the European Commission. That means business acceleration services, for example, support for further developing investment readiness. You will have also linking with private investors and customers. You will be invited to brokerage activities and events, for example, trade fairs. And I can ensure you that it is really a very interesting support. It is very well managed by the European Commission. Also, you can have assistance in applying for further European risk finance. You will benefit also from 12 days of free coaching by coaches, and also other mentoring activities. So you will find all information needed about SME Instruments and EIC Accelerator Pilot on the EASME website. EASME is the European Executive Agency for SMEs, and this is the agency which manage these instruments on behalf of the European Commission. Now I will switch to other EU funding programs for space. So as you can see on this slide, there are many funding programs for space. I won't go into detail on each one, because it will take too much time. So you can see that on the vertical axis, you have the different type of support. On the back, you have a grant. On the top, you have equity, debt support. And on the horizontal axis, you have the TRL I mentioned just before. That means the stage of maturity of the project, going from the initial idea up to commercialization and growth. I have mentioned SME Instruments, EIC, so you can see they are also on this scheme. Now I will switch to Horizon 2020, and there you have also the size of the budget or the funding. So you can see H2020 is very big. So in H2020, apart from the EIC, you still have the more traditional H2020 collaborative proposal and projects. So they are collaborative. That means that they must be done in European consortia, but they are open to all type of entities. These projects can be set up by companies, academia, non-profit organizations, public authorities. In fact, it's open to everyone. But the approach is different. You have setup of topics. That is a top-down approach. That means that the EC will launch call for proposal with very specific topics, and you have to do a project that will go answer to this topic, okay, through this call for proposal. What is interesting also is that the EC programs this call for proposal through multi-years work programs. This is very good thing because you can see beforehand what will be programmed for the coming years. And now we are presently ending the program, and we know since 2 years now what will be programmed up to the end of the program in 2020. Even if at the end of each year the EC makes some amendments, adjustment, but you can really program your innovation and see what will be programmed by the EC for the next years. So in fact, there is one thematic correspond to one work program with several topics inside. That means that for space, you have one space work program, and this space work program is composed of several topics. Generally, there is one call for proposal per year per topic, but it can be slightly different on some items, some topics. And there is one to several proposals retained for funding per topic. And in this H2020 program, you have several types of projects also. So you have the research and innovation action, you have the innovation action, and you have the coordination and support actions. So for research and innovation action, in fact, it's actions aiming at establishing new knowledge or explore feasibility of new technologies, product, processes. So it goes from basic research to testing and prototyping. For innovation action, you can see that there is no longer the research, so it's for projects which are on TRL higher. That means prototyping up to business plan and business development. For CSA, it's coordination and support action. I haven't mentioned it here because it doesn't really concern for-profit entities, but more, I would say, cluster, trade association, because it's CSAs are aiming to set up roadmaps, to set up networks. They don't aim at creating really new technologies. So for this type of project, what kind of partnership? So you have to be 3 different entities from 3 different countries. By countries, we mean member states, European countries, or associated countries. This is the basic eligibility rule. In fact, on project, you see that there are more partners, more countries. But to be eligible, you need to have to comply with this rule of 3. Which funding rate? For academia and non-profit organizations, they are funded at 100%. So this is very interesting. For profit companies under research and innovation actions, they are funded at 100%. Under innovation action, they are funded at 70%. For CSA, it's 100% funding. And in addition to this funding rate, you can add a single rate for indirect costs, 25% of all direct costs, except on subcontracting. That means that this 25% is supposed to cover your cost of functioning. For example, if you are a company, you are renting an office, or you are paying electricity, or this funding rate is supposed to cover this type of costs. And it's free for, it can be used without any justification. So for space program, you can see in H2020, it covers different topics. So there are some topics dealing with Earth observation, Copernicus technologies, Other dealing with artificial intelligence in space. Other dealing with space, business, entrepreneurship, outreach and education. Other dealing with technologies for space, science and exploration. Also topics dealing with security and the safety of a space environment. Then you have all the topics dealing with EGNSS market uptake, positioning. And one special topic, which is the EIC prize regarding low-cost space launchers and other action. I cannot go more into detail because I have no time, but I put here the link toward this work program, and you can read it and have a really deep view on what is programmed by the European Commission for space activities. So the official publication of the updated work program for 2020, it will be published officially by September this year. And next calls for space are expected to open in November and for closure date in March. So you can see that you will have the European Commission is leaving about 3 to 4 months to set up a proposal. My advice would be to really start before, because 3 months to set up your H2020 project is really short. So you need to maybe to get up some more information on this theme beforehand. Pros and cons. In green the pros, in red the cons, and it's because I'm obliged to put some cons, because I'm really convinced that it's really positive type of project. So for the positive aspects, I think the high funding rate is really a good incentive. It's difficult to do better than 100%, for example, on research and innovation actions. Then also you can target at business development through research and development. And this type of project can give you really strong advantage in terms of business that will be done after the research and innovation stage. Then you can also access to new knowledge, and you can enlarge your vision of a state of the art on your field, on your technology. It's a good way to improve these aspects. Also, through European project, you can create durable partnerships with different types of entities like laboratories, universities, large industries. Laboratories, for example, they can help you as an SME to do technological transfer, and it can help you also on results exploitation. Large group, they can be your future client. You can also have good working relations at the international level, and it's always can be also sometimes a way to investigate a target country for an SME, which want to do a business in a foreign country. And last but not least, international network. And really, when you win a European project, you really enter in, I would say, I put ecosystem. I don't know if it's very good English, but you enter into a very positive network. For the cons, you have, of course, heavy documentation and process. Even if I compare with France, for example, it's not so heavy and not so difficult, because, of course, there are a lot of papers to read and so on. But the good point is that the European Commission is really clear, transparent on his process. Then international consortium, it can be also difficulty for an SME to find a foreign partner, but I must say that there are many supports of that. The time to grant is 8 months. That means that there will be 8 months from the moment you candidate, you put your proposal, you submit your proposal, and then if you win, from the moment you receive the funding and you sign the grant agreement with European Commission. 5 months for the evaluation process, 3 months for the negotiation process, I mean the setting up of a grant. And also you need, if you are an SME, you need to I would say to have a critical size to put effort on innovation. If you are alone in your company, it will be difficult for you to be at the same time on commercial issues and on innovation issues. So where to find all info? Then you have an EC funding and tender portal. I put the link here. It's really, really a good portal. You need to get more familiar to it because it's it has a lot of information, but all information is on this portal. I mean, it will be like a one-stop. It is like a one-stop shop for general information and guidance. You will find all information and guides on this European project. There you will find also calls publication. If you decide to submit a proposal, then you will go in this portal to register your entity, because I haven't said that before, but all proposals have to be submitted electronically at the European Commission, no more paper. Then if you submit, you will submit also your proposal on this portal. If you win, you will also manage your grant on this portal. And if you want to be an expert, you also register on this portal. Then you have also human support, not only electronic one. You have an NCP, so national contact points. You have a link here. In fact, NCPs are people in countries, mainly in European countries, but also elsewhere outside of Europe. They are NCPs, and they are experts on these European fundings, and they can give you guidance information on these European fundings. And also there is the Enterprise Europe Network, which is a consortium of 600 partner organizations in more than 40 countries. They were supposed to give advice on business affairs, but now they can also advise you on these European fundings for research and innovation, especially concerning the SME Instrument and the EIC Pilot. That's all for me. I thank you very much for your attention. I'm ready to answer your question if you have, and in any case, you can call me later on if you want through my email address. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fabienne. I don't know if anyone has some question. If you do, you can just type a question in the chat bar. I have one for Carla. Carla, you said that entrepreneurs who have actually created a startup apply to Astropreneur, coached by the program, and also startups that are created. So, do you have different criteria for startup or entrepreneurs who have an idea?
Yeah, but I think she cannot answer because there is no arrow on Carla.
Okay.
Hi, Aurelie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you so well, so I didn't quite understood the question.
Okay, I just okay, I can repeat. My question is about the criteria to apply to Astropreneur program, because you said that startup can apply, but also entrepreneurs who have not already created a startup. So, do you have different criteria for entrepreneurs and for startups?
Oh, okay, I'm really struggling with with hearing your understanding what you are saying. Perhaps if I understood well, the question is about who are the entrepreneurs that can apply for Astropreneurs, and if it is that, well, Astropreneurs that can apply, startups that can apply for Astropreneurs can be either on idea phase or having already a registered company. So it is not mandatory to, if you want to apply to Astropreneurs, you are not obliged to have a registered SME. You just have to have an idea. And in the end of the process, you don't have to create your company. You are not obliged to that. You just have to have a business idea with a space connection and be located in the eligible countries, EU members or H2020 associated countries. But you are also eligible if you are already a registered company. No matter how long or the size. So there are both possibilities. Hello, Aurelie?
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I have some trouble with my computer. Okay, so thank you very much. It's very clear now. Fabienne, I have also a question for you. Could you tell us how long does it take to apply to an SME instrument for the phase 1 and phase 2? It's different for both of them, or it's the same thing?
So for the proposal, for an SME instrument, the length of the proposal is 10 pages. So it can be short. It looks short, but I must say, yes, it is short, but 10 pages must be really well written, and you have to convince the experts in 10 pages. For SME instrument phase 2, it's longer. It's 30 page, and there I did not mention it, but if you want to apply to SME instrument phase 2, you're not obliged to go through phase 1. I mean, you can directly apply to phase 2, but I recall that phase 2 and phase 1 will end by this year in September. Okay, so to apply directly in phase 2, so it's 30 page of proposal, but also you need to put really information really detailed on your business plan. You need to really know who are your competitors abroad, I mean, outside of your country, which are the commercial targets, the volume in terms of turnover. So you have to put in your proposal very detailed information regarding your business plan.
Okay, so thank you very much, Fabienne. I don't see any other question. So I just would like to thank you, Fabienne and Carla, for your presentation, and thanks to all the participants for attending this webinar. Stay tuned for the next one, and thank you again, Fabienne and Carla.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everybody.